I'm talking with Dr. Stephen Ealy. He's a senior fellow at the Liberty Fund in Indianapolis, Indiana. Welcome.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here with you.
We're both in Brussels. We're here for this International Archons Religious Freedom Conference. You are one of the moderators in a significant part, the second part of the actual conference. Tell us about your role.
Okay. Well, the panel I'm moderating is actually the final event other than the final dinner for the conference. So it's going to be a chance to wrap up. Before we get to my panel, there are going to be a number of speakers talking about ethical foundations of religious freedom, about questions of toleration, about the legal status of religious liberty as a human right. And there are a number of earlier panels dealing with those themes. In all of those panels, individuals will make presentations, and there won't be a whole lot of time for discussion because it's a very packed program. So my panel is going to have a cross-section of those paper presenters, and it will really be a discussion on these issues. So my job is, first of all, to listen very carefully for the first day and a half of the conference. And a lot of the questions I ask will be generated out of the comments made. Especially I'll be looking for different points of view, tensions between different speakers, and they won't have time to actually have a debate on those issues during their panels or during their presentations. So mine will be sort of like a big question session for the entire conference in which we may try to resolve some of those issues.
So you'll be leading that, and my understanding is you're in the solutions portion of this. I mean, there's plenty of problems. We can bring up the problems on and on and on. But the issue here is to try to come to solutions for the problems, to bring the religious minorities in Turkey up to where they can actually worship in peace.
Right. I think that is the ideal of the conference. Now, of course, let me say those solutions won't come from me, but they'll come from the panelists who I'm asking questions to. And I would anticipate that what we will find out is there are a lot of different solutions, some of them which are intentions. So that won't necessarily resolve all of these issues by Wednesday afternoon. But if everybody does a good job in articulating what their view of the solutions are, then at least we would have some alternatives to start thinking of. So that becomes ground for another round of discussions and then starting to work toward those solutions.
I know you've done some research before you came here, you did some prep work. What are some of the things that come out to you? As you're not within the Orthodox Christian community. You've been brought in, obviously, for special reasons. What do you see as some of the key issues that you could bring up?
Well, it seems to me that if we start with just the history of Turkey in the last 2 centuries, Turkey moved from being an officially Islamic state in the early 20th century with the Communist Party gaining command. They became secularized, church schools were closed, eventually all religious institutions came under control of the agencies of the state. So the history of Turkey may actually suggest that under the Sultanate there was more religious liberty for minorities than under a secular state. That's an interesting question.
It is.
So then where do we go from there? The other thing about Turkey that's interesting is Turkey has been Ataturk was interesting in westernizing Turkey. Turkey, since the administration of Ataturk, has wanted to be part of the West, and they went through a period of consciously doing things to distance themselves from the Islamic world, officially at least, even though there's still a large Muslim population, right, the dominant population. So they want to be part of the West. Well, what are they? I guess one of the questions that coming into this, and the title for this is Religious Liberty, the Bridge to the European Union. Right? Turkey is interested in becoming part of the European Union, and so this conference is really designed to explore how protection for the religious liberties of minorities fits into that movement into the West.
Very good. And also, my understanding of church and state relationships in America, which we both come from, is a little bit different from the understanding within the Turkish government. I know you talked a little bit about that. Could you address that too?
Yeah, sure. From the American perspective, separation of church and state means, in effect, churches are within limits, are free to pursue their own interests. They aren't subject to state control. separation of church and state in a secularist version, as has been the official line since Ataturk, is that the church is subject to state control. So it's a very different arrangement.
Well, we look forward to your participation and moderating this part. We'll be listening too, so we can answer questions. We can ask questions further down the road. Thank you.
Thank you.